What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my circle along with my beautiful wife, Carrie. Today, we're going to talk about chapter 3 of the book that we're going through, Pray Big for Your Marriage. We're excited about it, and you ready to get this party started?
Yes.
Let's do this. Oh, I couldn't wait to share this one. Any moment, he would take you from waiting on it to walking in it.
Love you, babe. Love you, girl.
Cheers to no more surprise babies. Regardless of what you're going through, it won't last forever. Our marriage is goals because you don't just fall into goals, you work for it. And that's our story, and we're sticking to it. Have a blessed day, y'all.
Okay, so we are so excited. We are reading this book, Pray Big for Your Marriage, and we are actually on chapter 3. And so what we have been doing is each week we're going live, and normally we actually go live on Facebook. We thought today we would try something different and come live on TikTok. So if you are live with us, say hi. If you missed chapter 1 and chapter 2, they are on my husband's YouTube. And so we're also going to be filming the YouTube for chapter 3 right now. So if you're missing the recording or missing the live, you can catch the recording. We highly recommend this book. You guys, this is our 5th time going through this, and it's been such a game changer for our marriage. So I want you guys, actually, if you are married, comment how many years you've been married, because we're going to get started in just a minute. Charles Pearson said they've been married for 45 years.
Jeez, listen.
Yeah.
Listen. Listen.
That's
we need
amazing.
To clap for that because we don't see that enough these
Here's
days.
another one, 26 years.
26 years.
Irene, that's amazing.
Listen. You ready to do this?
Yes.
All right, so like we told you guys, we've been going through this book, Pray Big for Your Marriage. We've been through it how many times now?
5 times.
5 times now. It's benefited us a lot. So we just wanted to share it with our following and just share it with you guys and just do it differently. We usually do it in a group setting with other couples, but we was like, why not just go live and do it and then just repost it on our YouTube? That way when people ask us questions about marriage, we can just point them to there. And also, why I like to go live, number one, my wife energy is like amazing when she's live, but at the same time, we're having conversation with you guys. So when we talk about marriage, a lot of you guys have great advice as well. So we get to pass along the advice that you guys give to the people that's gonna watch this video after us. So that's the reason I want the 2 main reasons that I want to do these videos live.
I do like the live because it's a conversation. So that's why we do like when you comment, and if you have something to add, we'll say it. And I feel like everybody who's married could always use a little more advice. You know, everybody should grow in that area. And if you're not growing, you are dying. So
Yep. And marriage is tough, man. And just 45 years, that's what I said. We clap for that because that is a long time to be with somebody and have to continue to grow and love those people in different ways, because every year is different. Like, we celebrate a wedding anniversary every year, and every time I go to like figure out what type of gift that I want to get for my wife, and you start doing the research, and you figure out like every year has a different meaning, and you know they have a gift guide or what you should get. But what I love most is almost like the meaning of that year. So I think last year was like something iron, and it just talked about how like you've been together for so long that your marriage is starting to be fortified and it's made stronger because of some of the things that you went through. I think it may have been iron.
I don't know. That's good.
But I just love the fact that like every year signifies something different for your marriage, and it was just a reminder that you do have to be growing together, because if you're not, then you're going to be growing apart. So that's why I say 45 years is a long time to grow together with someone and to learn to love them at an even deeper level, because that's tough to do in this day and age.
Yeah, because not only do you have to love them now, but you have to love who they are next.
Right.
And it's like falling in love with a new person every single time, because if we stayed the same we were when we first got married, like I'm not the same, and we've been married for 6 years.
6 years.
And so that's only 6 years, and you look at these couples who've been married for 40, 50, years, and you're like, wow, how many different people have they loved, you know?
Right.
And if you're a wife or a woman, they've had to love multiple personalities.
Yeah, listen, it's tough. I think one one of the main reasons that I wanted to like dig deeper into our marriage and just do things like this was just advice from an older couple and just seeing their life and the way that they live after the kids are out of the house. And it just made me think, like, when our kids, you know, we have 5 kids, so when they graduate and move on with their life into college or whatever they want to do, like, I don't want to feel like I have a roommate. I want to feel like I'm living with my best friend, that we get to go on adventures together and that we love living together. So I don't want to feel like after our kids graduate and leave the house and go on their own adventure that, you know, I'm just stuck with somebody who's a roommate. I don't want a roommate. I want somebody that I want to build my life with. And that starts now. I can't wait until, you know, we got our last kid that's about to graduate to start doing those things. You have to go ahead and start building that foundation right now. So that's why I love to do things like this, because it draws us closer. But then we also get to talk marriage and get advice from people who've been married for 45 years to give us advice of some of the things that they've been through so they can pass it down to us, so we can just literally continue to be a channel, but also apply those things to our marriage, so that when we get to that point, then it's not just lip service, it's actually life service. We're living out the things that we've been talking about all these years. So
you know what that just actually reminded me is when I was younger, I saw an example of what marriage looked like, and I wanted that. Like, I remember going on like a church youth camp, and there was this couple, and they were just such a light, and I was like, I want that. And so I would like our marriage to be that for somebody, because sometimes I feel like people don't have a healthy relationship to look forward to, or even to know what it looks like. And so I just am so thankful that we have that, you know, and we have to continue to grow it. It's not something that's like, oh yeah, everything is great. Like, no, we are making it great because we are trying
and putting in the time. And just the opposite of what she saw when she was young. Like, I saw some marriages that wasn't an example. It was an excuse not to get married. It was things that, you know, I don't want my marriage to be that. So it forced me to be more proactive. And, you know, once I decided to get married, to understand, like, my wife isn't going to put up with, that's just who I am. That's what I saw when I was being raised. Like, I had to be intentional about my growth and about becoming the man that God created me to be. And that caused you to be vulnerable. It caused you to do things and read books that you normally wouldn't read. But also it causes you to literally learn and just get advice from people who's been successful at the thing that you want to be successful at. So I want our marriage to be successful. So I have to go and do, like, put in the work. Like you said, it doesn't happen by accident. It happens by you putting in the work and making it happen. So for me, these things come near and dear to me, because when I made that choice to, like, you know, these are the things that I want in life, my priorities, I understood, like, it wasn't going to happen because I wanted it to happen. You was going to have to partner with God. You was going to go and have to literally go out and put in the work to make these things happen, so that you can become that person that can handle everything that you're praying for, everything that you're walking into, that you can handle becoming the man that you know God has created you to be. And many times that's going to be, you got to be weak sometimes. I know we think as men, we should always be strong. Like, you weren't built to always be strong. Sometimes you have to be weak in order for you to be broken in some areas that aren't benefiting you or your family. And once you break those areas, you have to understand, like, God is going to put you back together stronger than you were before, but it's going to be in a healthy way. And you're not going to be carrying weight of your childhood, carrying weight of the brokenness that was passed on for generations in your family. So sometimes you have to be strong enough to put down some of the things that you've been carrying and just reach out and get help, reach out and read books and do things with your wife, so that you can let your kids build on the foundation that is strong, and that they can continue to live out some of the principles and things that you've taught them.
Okay, we did get a comment, and she commented twice, so I feel like we should read it.
Go ahead.
Okay, she said, do you have any advice? My husband is a non-believer, and I'm a believer. And what I'm actually going to tell you is we did talk about this last week in chapter 2. And so it's on his YouTube, and we literally go into depth on that. And so we are on chapter...
It's called Pray Big for Your Marriage.
Yes, and so we are on chapter 3. And so what we're doing is reviewing every chapter.
Yep.
And so how they start off this chapter actually is telling them their engagement story. Yep. And women, we look forward to getting engaged, and we want it to be like monumental, and they tell their story. And so I was like, we should just tell how we got engaged. And so this is what I can remember is we were on our way to an event, and did anybody else know besides you and my sister?
Your sister, that was it.
Okay, so we were on our way home, and we were actually, at the time, we were living in my parents' basement, and so my husband was like, go downstairs or something. And I was like, I don't want to go downstairs. And I don't actually remember exactly, but I did not want to go downstairs and I was mad. And he's like, go downstairs. So I was like, fine. So I went downstairs and I was going into my room or our room, and I opened the door, and then the whole bed was decorated with balloons, and then on the bed, I think there was a box, and I didn't even see the box. I think I was just like so excited that my whole room was decorated, and then I like opened the box, and then I turned around, and then I think you proposed.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah, but I remember I was mad first because I was like, I'm not going downstairs. And then I ended up getting proposed to. And so, and the funniest part, we have this on video. We should post it because it's so funny. I think we have posted it before. But I saw the ring and I grabbed the ring before you even asked me, or you asked me, or he's like, will you marry me? And I just grabbed the ring and I put it on myself. I was like, that's my ring. And like, you didn't even put the ring on. I was like, that's mine. And so I put it on myself. So I thought that was funny.
To the person who's a believer and your husband not a believer, I think I always tell my kids sometimes when they talk about, kids sometimes they bring to school what they are seeing at home. So I tell my son, like, hurt people hurt people. So sometimes I have to tell him, like, you don't know what's going on in a kid's life at home. So you have to understand sometimes you're going to be the only Bible that they read. And how you respond and react to them, how you treat them, like that's going to be more important to them than anything else. So for the person who's a believer and your spouse is not, like, you have to make them a believer, not by forcing things on them, like how you go about living your life, the things that you do, not trying to change them, but just praying over and for them, praying with them, praying with your kids, doing the things that you think they should be doing. Sometimes you have to spoon feed people into these things by letting them see it piece by piece. I think about our kids, like we got twin girls right now, and they like 1.5 right now. And some of the things that they're starting to do is they watch what we do and they try to reenact those things. They see us reading books, they see us just eating certain type of food, or eating
or being on our phone,
or being on our phone, yes, our tablets, or whatever the case may be, and they try to do those things. So I think that's sometimes in our life, people are watching us and they see what we're doing, and they're gonna replicate what they see. So for me, if I was in your shoes, like, you have to ask yourself, like, am I an example of why my husband should be a believer, or an excuse of why he's not? And if you're living according to the life that you think a believer should be living, then you're going to inspire him, maybe slowly, maybe not overnight, but over time, he's going to gradually continue to grow because he's inspired by the life that he see, and he also see the fruit. I think sometimes people can see church people and they don't want to be around church people because they see the fruit of church people life. Like, they talk about being Christians and being all these amazing things, but you can't even have a conversation with them because they're so mean, because they think they're too good to talk to people or a certain type of thing. So it's a stigma that you put out. So for me, you have to, like, literally always ask yourself, like, what type of fruit am I putting out? Is it good fruit or is it bad fruit? Nobody wants to eat from a rotten tree. So for me, it's like, if I want people to follow me, if I want, like, I have to be a person of value. I have to add to people. I have to pour into people. I have to do things that, people want. Literally, you're really going to be an excuse or an example. So for me, I want to be an example for people. And many times it's not going to be what everybody wants. So I also understand, like, I'm not for everybody. So I don't try to be for everybody. I try to be myself, understanding, like, the right people are going to like me and the right people are going to follow and want to see my life and our life and the things that we have. So for me, just saying to you, like, if you want to see him change, then you have to change. You have to be willing to, like I said, produce that fruit that he wants to eat from, that he wants to produce in his life as well. So
that's so good.
Yeah,
that was good. Excuse or an example. So be an example for your husband.
You're gonna be one or the other. Like, there's no way around it, and it's gonna be determined by the way that you live your life, and ultimately the way that you treat people. We're gonna dig in this book now.
Okay.
Listen, we ain't got into the book yet, y'all.
We did a little bit. Actually, no, we haven't.
No, we did a lot, because a lot of what they're saying is pretty much is the title of the third chapter is Second Place. Put Jesus first, and everything else comes after that. So, like, when you talk about loving people, like, you need an example, and Jesus was that example. He was like human in flesh, but God in spirit. So for him, he had to live the life that we live, but his mindset was so far beyond our mindset, because he was able to do things that we can't, because sometimes we're married and we talk about we love each other, but I understand I don't love my wife unconditionally. Like I want to strive for that, but I can't, because when the conditions aren't right, then I'm not going to love her. And that just comes with growth and maturity, not trying to be perfect, but progressing. Like I think about 5 years ago in our marriage, like we would get mad, have arguments and not talk with each other. And we talk about unconditional love. Like we were so pissed, we live in the same house and wouldn't talk to each other.
For 3 days.
Like those are conditions. When I'm mad at you, I don't love you. So we can't talk about unconditional love. We literally have to talk about, we put conditions on love, whether we want to believe that or not. So we can't live up to that, but that still should be the bar. You have to progress and mature in such a ways that you have to literally, like Jesus said, die to yourself. Have a selfless marriage. For me, it's putting my wife first. And many times that's going to mean putting me second, putting myself on the back burner, understanding like everything that you know and everything that should be said, it has its time and its place. So you have to literally give her a voice. You have to be empathetic toward her. And one of the chapters is going into the book right now, and they talked about Jesus meeting the woman at the well. And they talked about the conversations that Jesus had with the woman, already knowing her business. So before he went and put her on the front street telling her about all these men that she's had, he had a conversation with her and then asked about the husband. So for me, it's understanding like grace opens the door and truth exposes what behind the door. When we're pissed about something, first thing I have to do is like listen to my wife first, show empathy before we come with the facts, have the conversation, relate to her emotionally. Because women love to talk, they love to share their emotions more than us guys. We compartmentalize, whether we want to believe it or not, that's what we do. So for me, I had to understand and mature in such a way that like I literally had to learn to show empathy. That's me putting my wife first. That's me having a selfless marriage. That's me breaking a pattern that was in my life of like always being aggressive, thinking that I know everything. You don't know everything. You can't say how she feels because only she can say how she feels, and you can't validate that because she's still gonna feel it whether you want to believe it or not. So relate to her emotionally before you come with the facts and really get into the conversation of what you guys just went through.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so one thing that I underlined that I liked, I wrote, looking to other humans to meet the needs that only God can meet.
Yes.
And if marriage can satisfy a soul, then this woman who's been married 5 times should have been in spiritual nirvana. So I thought that was just so deep, because a lot of times it is easy to think like my husband can be the source of my happiness. Or, it's easy to fall into that. Like it's like you think like, oh, if I get married, then I'll feel happy or I'll feel this way. But that's not true. And so your husband can't meet the needs that you, like he can't fulfill your soul. So I was like, that is just so deep.
And you would never meet their expectations because we set the expectations so high for each other that it's almost impossible. And they could be moving closer and closer toward their thing, and all we do is move the bar up. So for me, like, you just have to look at the little thing, like doing the dishes. Like, I don't like my wife doing the dishwasher because she put 3 things in there and it's full. And I'm like, babe, you can't do it that way. I have to put this here and this here and this here and this here. And it's like, for me, it's like understanding the fact that she's actually taking time to do it. So for me, that's a little thing, and I don't mind. Like, I love to do those things because my mom raised us. It's like, listen, she gonna work and we gonna make sure that house is clean. So we had our place, and so that was just the way I was raised. So sometimes it's me just understanding the fact that, like, she's making an effort to actually do these things. Even though you love to do it, even though you don't like the way that she's doing it, she's still making an effort.
I'm trying.
Yeah, she's trying. So, like, for me, it's like, lower the bar. Like, lower the expectations. She would never meet and be perfect to you. You're not like, I
will never do the dishes the way he likes them.
And I'm like OCD with that. And like I said, it has nothing to do with like my wife. I was raised that way. So when you develop these things, like that's just part of who you are. I love a clean house. So like I can't get mad when the kids make a mess and I'm gonna be like, my wife, you gonna be like, no, that's not the expectations that she have. That's the expectations that you placed on her. So every time they pull a bin of toys out, I expect those things to be picked up. So I go pick it up and get mad when she don't. That's not on her. That's on me. Let the kids enjoy what they're doing and give it time, understanding like you have to give them the chance to actually do these things. So for me, that's a small thing, but at the end of the day, the small things are what ruins most people's marriage because they don't talk about and address those issues. And I always say like those are unspoken expectations, things that we set on our spouse, and we don't talk about those things. And so for us, we just have to come to agreement in talking about these things. And like I always say, it's not me versus her. It's us versus everything trying to come against our marriage. And when you have that mindset, then the little things stand no chance against your marriage, because Satan knows one thing: a house divided will not last, and he's going to use distraction, and he's going to use anything that can draw a wedge between you two, and you cannot allow that. You cannot give him a foothold, because once he got a foothold, listen, he putting his whole body in your house, and he's going to try to destroy everything. So when you have that mindset and you know these things are going to happen, not because you want them to happen, because you have a real enemy that's trying to destroy your marriage, trying to destroy your unity, then you literally have to like put up a battle. And this is part of that battle: unlearning, relearning, and applying some new things in your life that's going to equip you to have a successful marriage. Like I said, our marriage isn't the way it is because we want it to happen that way. We've equipped ourselves enough to know like some of the battles that we're fighting are unnecessary.
Yes.
Like they're petty. So learn how to like beat these things. And once you do that, then you can see where he's trying to come at your marriage. You can identify the areas that he's trying to attack you in. So I think you just have to invest in your marriage and also just continue to grow and mature.
And one thing that I like that you always say anytime that, because I get really defensive or we have an argument or we're having a disagreement, he'll always say, like, you remind me that.
Yeah.
You're like, this isn't me versus you.
Yeah.
It's us together. We're on the same team. So he reminds me because I am defensive.
Right. And I think, listen, and that's listening. The devil is like, he is sneaky, and that just comes with your body language and your tone. Sometimes I can come off aggressive, and it's like she's receiving it like that because that's how you're giving it to her. So change your tone, change the way that you're trying to say things. For me, it was like I was like, well, I don't like that, and it's I don't care about that, and it's like I'm not trying to say I don't care. It's like I don't mind doing it that way, and it's like communicate that to her. All she hears, I don't care about it. I don't want to, like, and it's like, it's not her fault. It's how you're giving it to her. So for me, it's like when I came to the understanding, I have to catch myself, and then I have to remind her, like, hey, we're having a conversation. I'm not arguing with you, so don't be defensive. And it's like, why are you putting her on defense then? So it wasn't just her, it was me and how I was coming with my tone, with some of the things that I was saying, even though I wasn't trying to be mean or just rude or whatever the case may be. I had to like own my part in that as well, because it is a marriage. So it's two people, like I said, 45 years, two people living together, two different people with different personalities or whatever. Like that is hard. And you have to grow and mature in such a ways that's going to allow you to last that long.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, the next thing that I underlined that I really liked is, while swearing allegiance to God with our mouth, we look to other things for fulfillment. Ultimate fulfillment. You can name them: money, power, job security, talent, sex, popularity, possessions, and even relationships.
Ooh,
I know, that's like so deep. I told my husband right before we were going to come on, I said, oh my gosh, this chapter is really deep stuff, because it is easy to maybe not run to God for things, but to try to find fulfillment everywhere else. Or like, oh, that's why people, you know, they buy like a new shirt, or they go shopping, or that's how shopping addictions, like, oh, the next best thing, or you're always trying to keep up because you're like, get a sense of dopamine, and then you realize, oh, I'm not happy, like lasting happiness. Like it's just little dopamine hits.
Right. And
you just keep doing it over and over and over again, when that's not what fulfills your actual soul.
Mm-hmm. That's like, I always talk about, even a good steak. A steak is going to fill you up.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Most people are eating, most of us go and eat these ramen noodles, and then we're hungry 30 minutes later. It's not fulfilling. It's not filling you up. Like, you need the real stuff. So the real stuff is going to come packaged, and you're going to have to actually put in the work. You can't just, get a steak, put it in the microwave, and eat it. Like, it don't work like that. You have to do a lot of things to prepare that steak to get it to where that, it's going to fulfill you in such a way. So same thing with your marriage. Like, it's not going to be easy. He talked about, she didn't want to change me. All she could do is just go to God on his behalf in prayer. And he was like, it didn't happen overnight. It happened over time. He said 10 years later. So for us, we have to understand things like when we praying for our spouse, it may not be overnight. But over time, when you consistently and constantly show up and do these things, that's when you see the change. Going back to the lady who said she's a believer and her husband's not. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over time. So over time, he's going to be watching you. You're going to be praying over him and going to be living such a life that, like, eventually it just has to happen, because what he see in his house within the person that he decided to spend the rest of his life with. So, and like I said, this is our 5th time going through this book. And we love it because literally when you apply these things, like, you're going to see the change. You're going to see the fruit in your marriage. A lot of people read books and they say these things don't work. It's because you didn't work it. you read the book, but did you go out and apply it? Did you change anything? Did you change your lifestyle? So
okay, one thing how I like how it was called praying for second place, and going back to that, I underlined this and I was like, this is so good, so I wanted to say it. Everything God wants you to be in marriage, you'll learn from your relationship with him. And so I think we all go into marriage and nobody knows how to be like the perfect wife or the perfect husband, or well, you're never going to be, never going to be perfect, but you can learn to have characteristics like him by spending time with him. And I think that will bleed over into your marriage or flow over into it. And I think that's what helped us ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really follow. That was good advice, girl. I'm telling you, you just have to like literally pour into yourself the things. We talked about dream boards, I think, on the first video that we did, and I talked about like a lot of times people put things that they want on their dream board, like the cars or the house or the rings or the dress or the vacations or the trips or whatever the case may be. It's okay.
Well, we do that, so I can't.
She do that. I don't really do that.
We did put that cruise on our dream board.
Yeah, you put it on yours. There's nothing wrong with that, is what I'm saying. Me, personally, what I like to do is put characteristics of things that I want to become. Like, I put words. I put a lot of words. And, like, it doesn't happen by accident because you have to, like, understand, like, you're this person right now and you want to be here. That means you have to, like, literally learn and unlearn and relearn a lot of things to become this type of person. Like she said, it's not that you're going to be perfect. And like I said, like, there's nothing wrong with doing these things. But me, personally, I like to become the person that can handle this. Because I'm praying for the house and the cars and the clothes and the jewelry and all these things. If I put that on my dream board, but I'm a person that can't handle it, once I get it, what do you think I'm going to do with it? I'm going to blow it. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to cause that to be my God. I'm going to, like, look at me. I'm flashy. I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, no, like, God has blessed me. I don't have the capacity to humble myself in that such manner. So for me, I want to become the person that can handle the blessings.
But that's so good. You do have to show up as the person you want to be.
Somebody said, did you get jumping cables? Listen, I got them in both cars, on our bed, in the closet in here. She still starting stuff, y'all. Ain't nothing wrong with that because I support it. I want you to do that. For her, listen, this is a quick story off topic. We moved to Florida and we drove down from South Dakota to Florida. And we drove 2 vehicles. And being a good husband that I am, I was like, I'm not going to leave you in the dust. I'm going to follow you. And that was literally...
I am an excellent driver.
I learned a lot of things about my wife driving.
I learned 2 things about my wife. One, she is very, what is that? Responsive. Is that what you're going to say?
No.
What were you going to say? Okay, you go.
No, this is what I learned about my wife by driving behind her, is that she's very safe. And she responds on instinct.
Yes,
she responds on her instinct. When I say she's safe, she's driving in the slow lane the entire way down till we get to Tennessee. And then when we get close to that exit, I'm talking about not even a mile, like 0.5 miles, we in the slow lane. We got to get way over here. Y'all, she be maneuvering and she get that exit, but I'm like, man, you done put me through all this. I'm about, listen, what I learned about my wife is the way that she was responding on the interstate is the same way that she responds in life. When she act on her instincts, like nothing can stop her because that's her true self. That's who she really is. So for me, like when she gets sporadic and wants to do things, first I don't try to talk her out of it, but I like, okay, slow down and count the cost of this thing. Understand, like, does this line up with what you want to do? And if it is, go for it, because I know she's acting on instinct. She's acting on something within her that I can't control. I don't see. It's God given to her. So for me, that's why I don't try to stop her from doing anything. And I learned that by driving. I can't stop her. I'm behind her in another vehicle, so there's nothing I can do. She's behind the wheel of her life. So when I talk about business and all these things, she's behind the wheels of her life and these things. As long as she's got God guiding her through the Holy Spirit and the acting on no instincts that he's God given to her, when she's operating in that, nothing can stop her. So for me, once I saw that about my wife, she can say all she wants to about her driving. Like, when you watch somebody do things, like, she think I be making stuff up. I'm just like, no, baby, it's on video. This is what really happened. And so when I tell her that she's a safe driver, but when it's time for things to happen, when it's time to get off that exit and we like about to go past that exit, like, she make things happen in such a way that she's gonna hit that exit. Regardless if it's 10 cars, 2 cars, 25 cars in front of her, she's gonna get on that. So acting on her instincts. And once I learned that about my wife, listen, when I made that jumper cable video, it was literally because she loved to do things, but she's acting on instinct because she's done the research. She know where things are headed. So for me, I'm not gonna hold you back. Like, go and do these things if you think this is something that you should do. But then I tell her, like, count the cost of that. Do you want to invest your time, your energy?
True.
And is it worth you diving into? So for me, it's like, I'm not going to hold her back, but I am going to give her some wisdom, count the cost, because I know she loves to do things, but at the same time, a lot of things she stopped doing because she get bored and get tired with it. So at the same time, so I have to be that husband to like come in and be like, hey, you've done this before. Like, is this something that you want to consider doing, or take it from a different angle, or whatever the case may be, but never hold her back from that, because I know that she's acting on instinct, and that just comes with growth and maturity and understanding that you're not going to learn everything in marriage from a marriage book. It's simply following her driving from South Dakota to Florida in 2 cars is where I learned that about my wife. So sometimes God is going to teach you things about your marriage, about raising your kids in some of the most craziest ways, but your eyes have to be open to see these things. Your ears have to be open to hear these things. You have to be open in your mindset to hear these things, apply these things, and like talk about these things. When that happened, I talked to my wife about that. It wasn't like me, like, I got this secret about my wife, I'm not gonna say anything, so when she act on instinct, I'm gonna be like, yes. Like, no, like, this is what I saw, babe. Now when you do these, let's have a conversation about it, so like we can steer it in such a way that it's gonna benefit our family. So
that was so good.
Yeah, that's the truth. And like I said, learn that from driving on the highway. It didn't come from this book, even though I love this book. It equipped me to like start seeing my wife in a different light. Not praying to change her, but praying over her. That God may show her things about herself that she can't see, that I can't see. And once he did that, and he showed me something that she couldn't see, like literally, I was like, baby, you got something that I ain't got. And I ain't trying to tame that thing. Like, operate in that, because when you operate in your gift, nothing can stop you. Nothing, like all the doors that you're supposed to walk through will be open to you, and you're gonna walk through those because there's no confusion. There's only clarity, because you're moving according to the purpose and the gift that God has placed on you and in you. Yeah, girl.
That's like,
that didn't come from the book. I gave that to y'all for free. That was for free.
That's so funny. Wow, I feel like that's like a great place to stop.
Oh, we can stop there.
No, I mean, like, that was so good. Actually, I love how you applied that, how we're both the drivers of our life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of people think that I'm driving over here. Like, no, it's you still behind the wheel in your life. That's why the title of this book is Put God First and Everything Else Second, because you have to be in that relationship with him. You have to be in that relationship with him. I have to be in that relationship with him. Each of our kids have to be in that relationship with him. We can't always pray for our kids. We have to teach them how to pray and then pray with our kids. And so some of those things, understand, it comes from that personal relationship with Jesus. And when you learn to do that, that's when you become selfless in your marriage, selfless in how you handle people, selfless in the way that you see the world, and you stop viewing it from such a shrewd point of view. You start seeing it from his point of view, and you start seeing like broken people where it's like literally God can do anything with anybody. Yes. And I know that because of me. I know that because of what my wife went through and what he did for her. So understand that we're literally all walking testimonies. Some of us believe our testimonies, some of us don't. And it just have to come from that belief in yourself and the fact that God is real and he's showing up and doing things in your life regardless of how far you've been or what you came from. You just have to be open to allowing him to do that through your personal relationship with him. That's why I love the title of this third chapter, Second Place, praying for second place, and that's for your marriage. God is first place in a house because that's the foundation that we're building on. If I'm building on her as my foundation, it won't last, because when she was sick and going through what she went through last year, if that was the foundation, then everything would have crashed because she wasn't able to carry or handle anything else or other than what she was going through. And if she would have did the same thing for me, it would have crashed because I wasn't able to handle, after going through that, everything that we would have to step into this year. So he had to be the foundation upon which we were building on. So when the storms of life came and she went through what she went through, we handled that adversity. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't easy, it still was a storm, but we didn't wither and we didn't blow away. Our marriage didn't crash, our kids didn't crash, like nothing happened. We just grew from that, and we understood that we was building on the right foundation with the right tools and the right people in our life that's gonna allow us to flourish in such a way that we are an example of what people want and an excuse, not an excuse of what they don't want.
Oh, that was so good.
Yeah,
oh my gosh, that was so good.
That is the truth. Like, you can't make these things up. When you're in a close relationship with him, he said, remain in me and I'll remain in you. And so when people see me, they don't see me. They see the God in me. They see what he's done through me. They see that. They just see everything except me. So for me, I'm humble enough to admit I'm not perfect, but I'm progressing because I stay close to God, understanding like I went, 25 years of doing things my way, and it got me nowhere. So when I decided to surrender and try a different way, and that was God's way, listen, my life has changed 360.
Yeah.
I'm not like the marriage that I wanted. He didn't just give that to me.
Yeah.
He gave me my bride, and then he gave me some tools. Build that life, build that marriage that you want. So you have to co-labor and partner with God. Understand, like, he's gonna give you the tools. You praying for this, he's gonna give you what you need to get that. But you have to be willing to put in the work, and that's what we've done and continue to do.
You know what? This is the first time that I'm like, I was reading the comments and I was like, oh my gosh, I was getting chills. I was like, we really should write a book. Like,
We could.
no, seriously, after you even tapped in this book, I said, we have our own story.
Yeah.
That we have a lot of things that we've learned. And I'm like, I literally was like,
Yeah.
people are commenting that. And I said, oh my gosh, like, I feel like I literally just actually really believe that we could.
We could.
Yeah, we should. I know people keep saying that, but I'm like, no, this is the first time I actually believe that we could.
Yes, he just had to show you some things. And he
Yeah.
showed us through this.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I love reading this, he talked about some real life things like their engagement. He wanted the perfect engagement to his bride, and it didn't happen. And all he did was put that in his testimony and write this book. So
Yeah.
just share your life journey, and that's what we get on here to do. Like, listen, what works for us may not work for you, but
Yeah,
that doesn't
that's so
mean
true.
we're not gonna share it. We're still gonna share it because we got it from somebody else and applied it in a way that it worked for us. So it's not that, the testimony isn't good. It's just how you're gonna apply it, how you're gonna reshape things to work for you and your family. We have 5 kids, so we can't keep up with the Jones and try to do what they do. They have 2 kids.
Yeah. Just
They don't operate like us. Like,
yeah.
we can't get no convertible. We gotta
Yeah.
go with the Suburban, the Yukon XL. Like,
Yeah.
we can't live that type of life, so we can't do what you're doing. But there is truth in some of the things that you're doing. We just have to take it, twist it, and make it work for our family. And since we've done that, like, it's working for our family. So,
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Okay, let's finish this out. And if you guys have, let's read some comments because I feel like there's a lot of people who have been really. So if you have any questions or comments, and then we can kind of just see. That was good. This was such a good.
It was.
third chapter.
I'm glad you decided to go.
Yeah. How did we meet?
In a bar.
We met in a bar. He came in to the bar. I said this on my TikTok, but he came into the bar and there was like this glow around him.
Listen.
And he said he's gonna marry me that night, not to my face.
I told my friend that.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's the one. But we didn't even talk. So it's just so crazy. Like the way that we met was so meant to be.
I know it was meant to be because I was ready. Like this is when I started. Okay, this is when I started my faith journey. This when I started to like really post out loud about like Jesus and just like scripture and all these things. So for me, I was ready for that. And that's when God brought her into my life. I don't think, honestly, and I'll just be real, I don't think she would have came into my life if I wasn't at that point in my life. Because like I said, I was ready for that. I wasn't necessarily looking, but I was open to God doing something different within my life. And I think because I was ready, like he literally brought her into my life and literally from like even the decision of using this head and not the other head, I was ready for that. So like to have that discernment in the midst of like, okay, you say you want this, so I'm gonna give you an opportunity to prove yourself to be true. And it was an opportunity, and like I said, I acted with this head and not the other head, and you know who was the person to actually speak up on my behalf. That same person. So like I said,
so let me explain that. So basically, this is what happened.
This is being honest with you.
This is really true. My friend, he hung out with one of my friends. Like she was a friend of a friend. We kind of were like, but he hung out with one of my friends. And then, like 6 months later, I ended up saying like, oh yeah, that guy, he was hot. I was talking about him. I said, but I would never hit him up because he's a player. And she said, actually, Carrie, he's not. He never tried anything with me. And so because he didn't is the only reason that I allowed him to talk to me.
Yeah.
So that's why he's saying like if he would have acted, then he like we would never talk because she would have been like, oh yeah, he is a player,
and then she was like,
and I'd be like, oh, I'm out, So like that's crazy.
When I say like I was ready for that, it caused me to like not just talk about it, not just pay lip service, pay life service. You get an opportunity, you never know who God is gonna use, and she just happened to be that person, and she's still an amazing person, killing it within our same business. And it's like you just was ready for that, prepared, and God gave you an opportunity to prove yourself to be true, and you did. And she came and she was the spokesperson for you. So for me, it's like, y'all don't think God is real, then you are crazy. Like he be working through some mysterious ways. You just have to be open to see these things.
What if your families don't like each other?
A lot of people may not like this. For me, your family is your most important family. Meaning like our household, our family is our most important family. And when I say it's us against everything trying to come against our marriage, when we got married, I didn't marry her mom, she didn't marry my dad. We married each other. So that became our home. That became our unity. So anything trying to come against that is not of God. So if anything trying to drive your marriage apart, you have to understand and just keep it real with yourself. In this season of our life, you are an enemy to our marriage. So for me, it's like separation. Don't allow those people to come in. They say
and set boundaries.
Set boundaries.
That was our thing
set
that helped
boundaries.
us is setting. Hey, I need to check with my husband first because
Yep.
we are a unit and
Right.
we need to be in agreement. And then you set boundaries with everybody and speak to them. I think that's communication.
Yeah, that's literally who have your back behind your back. Your family, do they have your back behind their back? Do they have your husband back behind his back? Are they talking about your husband to you? Then you have to understand, like, you're a garbage truck. You're not allowing them to pour garbage into you about your spouse. So what you think that's gonna make you feel about your spouse? You know?
Okay, yeah, that's another good one. That speaking of that, I can see why I know a lot of women, they will go and they'll talk about their husbands to other people. And I mean, I think it'd be a safe space if you're talking to like a counselor or
Yeah.
something, or if you but don't go pouring into other people about your relationship. And so this should be between us. And I think so many times women will run to like their friends and be like, oh, my husband did this and I'm like, no, we don't do that. You don't need to know what me and my husband are
Right.
doing. Like, we need to know, making sure we're on the same page. And also don't talk bad to your husband or your spouse, don't talk bad to your family about your spouse, because they're never going to see him as a good person if you're always saying, oh, he does this and this and this. Like, if like I see this in my sister's marriage, like I don't, you know what I'm saying? So like, if you're speaking garbage to your family, don't do that. Like,
Right.
you need to keep that between you guys. This is a unit, and it shouldn't go out of this unit.
And counseling, you need to have a healthy moderator, somebody that's going to
Yeah.
allow you to listen without interference, listen without seeing things from your point of view. So a lot of people don't like counseling, but for me, it's like that's just somebody who's sitting there allowing two adults to have an adult conversation and talk about the real issues of life that you're not going to talk about at home, because somebody's going to get pissed and they're going to be in their feelings, which is okay to be in your feelings because you feel that way. And counseling just allow you to feel that way in front of your spouse, the person that you say you love more than anything else in the world. So I think you just always need a moderator if you two or one of you aren't mature enough to handle that. So we can get mad at each other, and we're mature enough now because we've grown to that point to have a conversation with each other. Because one thing that I learned is not talking in isolation is not a healthy thing for marriage.
Oh, that's
like I
so
said,
true.
that's a foothold for the enemy to slip in and plant things within your mind about your spouse and about your marriage and have you question, did I make a mistake, or did I do the right thing? So for me, it's like she said, you have to be careful talking about your spouse to other people.
Yes.
I love counselors. Like I said, they are a moderator to allow two adults to sit down and have a adult conversation in a healthy manner, because most manners, just being real, friendships, family, they just aren't healthy environments to try to fix problems that you have. You're just literally planting flowers within weeds, and the weeds gonna eat it up.
Yeah, so like not just your family, but don't be talking to your
Anybody,
besties,
really.
your besties, your girlfriends. They don't need to know about
What's going
on, that he didn't take out the trash or whatever it is. Like, they don't need to know.
It's always gonna be something else to somebody else. Once you plant that seed, how they water it, you can't get mad because you allowed them by planting that seed about your spouse.
Been married for 27 years. I was 19 and he was 21. Communication is key.
Yes, communication and understanding, because you can communicate, but if you can't
get your point without helping them understand.
Yes, I said earlier, I was saying something to my wife and I was communicating to her, but she couldn't understand it because the way that I was communicating it. So I was like, hold on, this isn't her. Say what you're trying to say so she can understand what you're saying. And then she'd be like, oh, I thought you were saying this. Like, no. So communication is key. I just wanted to add, you are right about that. I just wanted to make sure that you're communicating in a way that they understand it.
Yes, at the beginning we used letters. We would write to each other to get our
That's
points across.
That's a good one.
You know, we also like to do, I know we talked about this in other videos.
Dang, that's a good one.
But we have been to marriage retreats, or we'll do a marriage weekend, or if you get into churches, you just look around. It doesn't have to be your church. But I think we went to a Lutheran one time, and they had us go to separate rooms and write letters to each other. And then we had to come together and read each other's letters. And it was just really powerful because you say things in your letter and then your significant other reads it and you're like, oh my gosh, like, and you can say a lot of things without coming across a tone. Like, there's no tone.
There's no tone. It's just what you see on paper. That's it. So
my husband and I hold hands when we argue. It helps us not come off so aggressive. That's so sweet. I'm a hand holder. I love to hold my husband. But he does.
Y'all are very mature. Is what I'm gonna say to do that.
Yeah, that is,
Man.
That is really mature.
That takes some, you talking about selfless marriage now. That is like,
wow, that's so sweet.
Yes, that
is. I love love.
So, thank you guys for joining us. Like, literally, this was really fun. I enjoyed it. And like I said, my wife is under the weather, but you guys just brought something out of her today because she don't want to get off. So, I really enjoyed this. Next time, we're going to come back live on TikTok because you guys are way more active and you're just real. Like, you're literally giving real advice. You're talking about things that's happening in your marriage, and it takes a lot of power and vulnerability to do that. So I don't take that for granted when people do that, because a lot of people just sit down, like I said, unspoken expectations, or they don't say these things to their spouse and they just go vent to the wrong people. But like I said, we're not perfect, but we want to put things out in the open, and we want to make this a healthy environment for marriage. And that's why our goal is to let people know, like, you don't have to be quiet and always talk about your husband in a negative environment, whether it's friendship or family or whatever the case may be. We want our environment, we want my circle to be a healthy one, so that when you leave, when you come into our circle, you're going to leave better off than you came. So, yeah. So stay tuned for in like a week and a half, we'll be back because we're going on a cruise, and then we'll come back, and then we got to read chapter 4, and we'll be back live. So hope to see you. See you guys. Have a blessed day.